Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful for this opportunity for us to have an interface with each other and with the community, those that have been able to come here. And there's something I want to speak to, the process of this board. I think that's the elephant in the room. The personalities that are drawn into the KPFK and the Pacifica community are vast. They're often disparate. There are, all the sub-communities find that they're out for their own needs, and the other sub-communities must not be, so we've got to stop them, and we've got to kind of get past that. I think that's one of the biggest things. What has happened on this board, as I see it, for I can't remember how many years I've been here, 4, 5, 6, is a degrading of the quality of people that have run, honestly, a degrading of the process, and the process has been allowed to take over beyond common sense. I sit on the board of directors for a labor local in Hollywood, and we're the largest labor local in the West Coast, 6,000 members, multi-million-dollar organization, and I've been there for 7 or 8 years. And we have a process that is a common process that happens on boards all over the country every weekend. And there's a model to follow, and it's very civil and it's very functional, and we make sure that that organization functions and remains healthy from inside. We do apply Robert's rules generally in order to get a meeting done, in order to get it happen, so there's some process we can plan on. There have been many instances on this board where people will point to that book of Robert's rules and they'll stop everything because we need to stick to this rule. And despite the majority of the people saying, wait a second, it's common sense that we need to just move forward because that rule, it's just going to trip us up. There are people that use that as a giant parking stone to stop the process. We most need to reach out into the community to people that are functional. We all know those people. There are the people that we all know in our circle that are highly functional, that can get things done, that can learn to collaborate with other people, that can work within a process, that can be inclusive and have a sense of camaraderie and collaboration rather than confrontation. Those people we absolutely have to reach out to. And if this board was entirely reconstituted, I wouldn't be sad if I wasn't elected again, if I didn't run. If we got people here that know how to function, and there's people on other boards within our left-leaning community or whatever communities that can move things forward. It is so important to the health of the station. We all know that the station is on the edge right now. I've been hearing that for a lot of years, but now I see the numbers and I really know that it could tip one way or the other, and we could lose Pacifica. We could lose KPFK. That's a legitimate concern. The whole purpose of having a board is governance, to help hold the management accountable, to help pick management, to make sure that the budgets are legitimate. At my union board meetings, we have a presentation from basically what would be the general manager, and they get a time to speak and go over the station stats, and then the secretary-treasurer goes over the numbers. Everyone on that board knows where we sit financially, and we know why some money went here and some money went there. It's all totally clear and transparent within that system. This system has failed to accomplish that again and again and again. So with new blood and new people, and I would recommend we get someone, we had Steve Goldsmith, many will remember, who is guides boards into sort of creating a foundation and learning to function, teaches board process. If we get him or someone in to teach the new people and create an educational day like we did 5 years ago, remember we had people from the station staff and board members get together and learn how to function as a board. I encourage you guys to encourage the board and encourage your friends and neighbors. And again, we all know some people that may not fit well into a board process. Don't ask them. Ask the one you know that knows how to get along with people, knows how to work within process. Anyway, I just urge you that that's our best effort right now.
I'm requesting that we give 45 seconds to each speaker for the public. 2 minutes?
45 seconds.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Why don't you make it 1 second?
I'm sorry. I was having a minute and a half. Yeah, a minute and a half. A minute and a half, just in case if there's a lot of people who want to speak, just to give them an opportunity, and then have folks go back into the stack. They don't want somebody to take over the time.
Just real quick. So, minute and a half, and I would suggest that we take all of that time that we were supposed to do for public comment and bank it in one chunk.
I think it should be.
Just chunk it.
1.5 to.
Go ahead. Who's the timekeeper? And so we put a hint at that 30 seconds left, so that we know the process.
1:31.
Nobody timed you, Dutch.
And then Dave Johnson, you'll have time to give a report? Yeah, he'll have more time.
Point noted.
And then-
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that observation. That's very
Go for it,
helpful.
Bella.
Are we on? Okay. Dutch, actually, I'm thrilled for everything you said because it's very succinct. Professionalism is what has been lacking in this board for many, many years. But you missed something, and that is the accounting, the bookkeeping knowledge. That everybody that comes into this, and I would say 99.5%, has no knowledge of bookkeeping. So it's not just that the system has failed us, it's that the board has had no tools, no know-how to demand, scrutinize, and hold accountable in the finances. So some years ago, I offered over and over again to conduct a teach-in, very simple bookkeeping session. Several members signed up. When the time came, no one could make it. Or some board members, it was just a chaotic. And me, who has little money, given bookkeeping knowledge to the board, and I've offered that for years. So, where we stand today is no surprise, is that we have not demanded, we have no skills to scrutinize and demand the proper information. I have been, by the way, I have been a recipient to a lot of murmur and rumors and questions in KPFK, and so I'm glad that that was addressed here today. I applaud Leslie Radford for taking this position. I can't wait for her to take over. But I want Alan Minsky and Ian Masters out the door as soon as possible. You all know that. And there's a motion pending on the governance committee and on the agenda for the last 2-3 months. Is that correct, John? And it has not been addressed. And that's precisely about strip programming. So if Alan Minsky and Ian Masters get taken out, the strip programming gets eliminated, then we will be embarking on the right path to opening up the space to all the voices that have been voiceless for so many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Bella.
Well, I'm here to announce that I decided to run for the board in the next elections. Each of us come with our own skills and our own concerns. I had my arm twisted for several years to do this, and I have a very busy schedule. And this year I'm putting a lot, and next year too, into climate justice. So I may be abroad on some of these meetings. I may be in Paris or some other country. You know, I'm an internationalist, and I'm not afraid to say I'm a revolutionary eco-socialist. And we need radicals, we need people who will also bring candidates aboard on the station that, you know, in our programming, for our programmers to bring candidates from third parties, you know, the Green Parties, the Peace and Freedom Party, or the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and the Socialist Party USA. We need them, candidates, not just the, you know, the Democrats all the time. I was hearing today, you know, oh, we can bring other Democrat Party candidates besides Hillary. Really? You know, so, you know, but another thing that I want to bring aboard, and I think we do, and you were sort of addressing it a little bit, we have to learn to get along. You know, when we should have dialogue. We should have, when we have programs on health and spirituality, we should bring people from different groups that may not necessarily agree with you and have dialogue. Think how exciting programming like that can be.
Exactly.
So anyhow, I want to bring these things aboard, and also we're concerned about, you know, the greatest danger of our planet right now, besides nuclear war, which is also a possibility, is global warming. There's going to be no future generations if we don't stop this soon and get rid of capitalism. So, anyhow.
Thank you.
First, I want to thank
Oh, yeah.
all of you who are here for being here and for everything you've done over the past several years. And I appreciate Dutch's comments. I'm glad that Nancy's running. I hope a hell of a lot more people do run. I will not be on the board. I want to thank Michael and the committee for this report. And I very strongly suggest that it be boiled down into bullet points.
Right.
I am still on the programmer's list. So I have been seeing all of the emails that have been flying around, including from people who have dredged up old lists, I'm not sure where they got them, who are sending these to all of us. I think you make very clear, for those people who don't really know who the committee was, what the process was, some of what's out there sounds very convincing.
Right.
Especially the issue of transparency, the issue of quorum, etc. I was going to raise questions about that myself after reading all of their stuff. The last couple of paragraphs especially make very clear what went on. And that needs to be out there. I can't tell you how many emails I've been getting from people who are smarter than the ones who are generating a lot of the lies, saying, what do you know about this? Should I sign this petition? And unless we get this information out there, it's going to be very difficult to put a lid on the kind of bullshit that's going on.
Exactly.
And it's going to be very difficult for Leslie or anyone else to function. So I really urge you, the members of the committee or the board as a whole, to do it. To come up with some bullet points, not to be defensive. It's a very good description of what the process was. And I thank you for that, but you now have to get that out there.
I will go ahead and forward that as a staff member and as LSB chair from the committee member, or the chair of the committee, forward that document to Alan, because he has the email address to send to the staff in the program.
No, but this
So more
has
than
to
that.
be
It's more than
redone.
that.
It has to be redone.
Their petitions and their emails are being circulated all over. I'm getting them from people involved with the Palestinian Solidarity Movement saying, what should I do?
Right, they're going everywhere.
This has to be gotten out in very simple bullet
Summarize.
form, widely, not as a defensive document, but pride in the way the process was done.
To address their question.
A statement of fact.
Well, we can't say much in a few seconds. What Dutch said, I agree with completely, you know. More than ever, we need to find some way to work together. You want to make me happy to have enemies or opponents. It's your problem. It's our problem, not the way to go. As to this quorum lockout thing, well, that began by the antecedents of your faction. And Leslie was the key person in that. That's the first boycott of the quorum. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. I'm just saying there's a history to this. I was there on the board, so I know. I think it's not the way to run an organization, which is what you're saying makes sense. But we can't settle it by attacking the other or thinking we're so great, or just meeting and ignoring everybody else. We have to find ways to work together. 200 years or more of the left. Doesn't that tell you some history? Anarchists and Marxists and Stalinists and Trotsky, I mean, you name it, for 200 years. Isn't that enough of that?
No.
No. Well, I think it is. And we're trying to run a radio station, not a political party. And unless we find ways to maximize the efficiency, the effectiveness of that, we're going to be destroyed. We'll destroy ourselves. And that's what happened to KVST, channel 68. There used to be like a KPFK on TV here. KVST, viewer-sponsored television, 68. And it destroyed itself, imploded, but this kind of internal fighting. A very bad history, bad example. So I've urged Lydia and Summer months ago, and they both very politely but firmly said, no, we can't. We have to. They didn't use it. We have to fight it out. I urged them, let's get some mediation, not go to lawyers in court. They both thought it's a good idea, I think, but they didn't feel it was doable. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. So, outside of formal meetings, we need to have a day in which we all get together, sit down with some impartial or professional people like Steve or Ken. I'm the one who got them here originally with Dutch, as he knows. People who are in our community who know how to settle problems in an effective way. Otherwise, it's obvious after all these years, we're not functional, we're not effective.
Okay, you know.
Can you get on
The line is over here.
Just help you get over there.
Hey, I couldn't get through there, so I stood up here, okay? Is
Augustine.
that all right? Diane?
Augustine, you were not online.
Video response.
I feel so strongly about it, go ahead and speak, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to respond to a couple of comments because I can't remember all of them. In terms of the finances, some of the things that we can report out from the Pacifica National Board that each CFO has requested in the past has been that now the CFO is able to help supervise and, more importantly, hire and supervise the individual business managers.
Excellent.
What has held us up for years now, whether it's for our CPB, or our audit, and whatever, is the fact that we can't, sometimes, not all of them, but we have not had sufficient cooperation from the business managers. And so now you have a financial expert and the person in charge of the finances for the foundation able to participate in that. That level of financial expertise is not a requirement of our general managers. And so therefore, and it's not necessarily has to be, that limits the pool considerably. So that's a significant change. But that motion has just passed very recently. Every single CFO, regardless of the faction, has proposed that, and it never passed before until this year. So in response to what Israel said, in fact, there has been a lot of work across the aisle. And because it's not about just having a mediator and a meeting. When that time that we had one when Dutch was chair, which was a valiant effort on his part, hours later, we faced a lawsuit as a result of the election that took place at that same meeting. So, so these things happen. Well, what has worked, I can tell you, in terms of my allies when I was on the PMB a year ago, before the recent board was on, there were 6 of us on our side. And by the end of the year, there were 11 of us. And so, that has been the composition. At WPFW, 2 different factions at their station are now voting together on the PMB. They did not speak to each other for the first year. They would have to call me, can you tell Tony so-and-so, and can you tell so-and-so, and can you tell so-and-so, so-and-so. So they weren't, right? Because they had 3 factions there. And so now they work together, and they come together on specific issues. I don't know if they're gonna, live happily ever after. The current secretary, who is also very reasonable and is clearly from the other side of the aisle at KPFK and was originally one of the plaintiffs. Now that she's been on the PMB and gotten information that she was not privy to before, we all voted for her to be the board secretary. And votes with us, not 100%, because that's not what you do. Even with your allies, that's not what you do. You have to be able to defend your vote. But on the very basic principles of doing it for the sake of Pacifica and loyalty to Pacifica, if you make that your bright line, then that's, where you are. That was the same thing with the Texas director. He was, again, from the other, side of the aisle. And his side of the aisle came to him with a bunch of disinformation. But we had sent him the actual physical records with no rhetoric around it. And so he just told them, my God, you guys were lying to me. If I've already read the real minutes and the real record. And that's what's true of what's going on right now. There's a lot about me that's going out there. Saying I voted, against having elections. Well, we have the record. The minutes are on the Pacifica board that I voted against postponing elections in 2013. I voted for hiring an election supervisor and moving forward with elections in 2014, which is where we are right now. So they can lie, but we have the truth on our side. We also have the records. But to think that many of us Brenda is the champion working across the aisle. We do it, and we're doing it across lines all over the network. We did not get here because we just sat back. We find the common interests, we agree on the issues that we differ on, right? But if you can find the honest brokers, the people who really care about Pacifica, then you don't mind differing with them on some of the peripheral issues. And that's how it's done. One-on-one, lengthy conversations, as soon as you find that bottom line. But there are some people who I will not speculate what their motivations are. I have no idea, but you can't get through to that common ground of support and love for Pacifica.
Can I just announce also quickly, Margie Wilkinson, who was the interim executive director, now there's an executive director, she also resigned from the position of the chair of the national board, and Lydia's been voted as the national board chair.
Excellent.
So as a director, the new vice chair is from Tony Norman from DC.
From Washington.
So that change also took place, so her feedback is
Very
One
important.
one of the things that I've seen being involved with KPFK for the last, 12, 13 years, is that there are forces that are not here represented from the other side pulling strings. And, you know, they seem to be able to get things done. Right now, what's going on with this petition that's going on against Leslie Radford, and that's one of those situations. And who are those people? I have my ideas of who they are, who they represent. And Pacifica is no longer Pacifica. It's more like war. You know, they want war. It's people who are controlling us, and who controls it? The CPB is not controlled by, it's a private organization funded by the people who send money in, who are stupid enough to send them money. And they're a private organization. Who runs their board? How is it set up? And how do they give money to us and to all the other people? And they used to give a big chunk here to KPFK, and it was given to somebody outside of KPFK, wasn't even part of KPFK. And whereas, you know, we're not even serving the populations that we can reach, especially the Spanish-speaking populations. You know, I asked at one point, how come if this is a a civil rights type organization, why is that money being distributed to the people who are least able to get any kind of representation on KPFK? Who are those forces that are keeping the vast majority of people in the catchment area of KPFK, which is basically Southern California, on close to 20 million people, and the vast majority is Hispanic, Chicano, Latino, and we're not getting serviced by this so-called entity that's supposed to follow all the rules of non-discrimination. What's going on? Why is that taking place? And still, here we're fighting for a little piece of bread, a territory that has been occupied since 1848, on the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and what do we get? I mean, we pay the taxes, we produce the wealth here in California, and who benefits from it? We don't benefit. Look at UCLA, the UC system. 11.23% of the students are of Spanish surname. And basically, you know, the agribusiness is one of the biggest business here in this state. And who does that work? It's not a capital intensive work, it's work by mano de obra barata, you know, poor undocumented workers are making all that thing. The garment industry, $30 billion worth. It's mainly women from Mexico, from Central America and everything, and what do they get for it? They don't even get a minimum wage, they get piecemeal. And how are we represented? Are we trying to represent them? Everybody here says, well, we're for the poor people. And look at the garment industry is like, I think, close to 90% woman.
Yes.
And there's a pyramid, a social pyramid in here in Southern California, maybe the whole state, where on the top it's the Anglos and the Asians who are fighting for the top. Then right underneath them are black women, and beneath them is black men, and then under them are Native American Indians, as opposed to Native people. And then below them are Mexican men, and way on the bottom is Mexican women or Latino women who are working for piecemeal. Is it already time?
Yeah.
And what is happening with that representation? Why, ask yourself, are these forces that are outside of KPFK running the show, and we are not the people, the working class is not running this place.
I was not given that much time.
No.
How excited? Yeah, really.
You know, number one, I think we're in the middle of a propaganda disinformation campaign. That's what's going on.
Right.
I support fully the governance. I also just want to praise all the volunteers.
Thank
Whether
you.
it's programmers, whether it's people here, whether it's people that have the phone. Because I see this also as a question of the paid staff versus
Unpaid.
the volunteers or unpaid.
Exactly.
And the paid staff is fighting because Zuby promised them their jobs, which you
Right.
cannot provide. They've been able to sustain that. And that the paid staff controls Zuby because he's such a nice guy. I love the brother. But the bottom line is they will be in fund drive every day of the year if they have to because the staff wants to get paid.
Exactly.
They don't care about the volunteers. They don't care about the fact of losing audience.
Yeah.
Number two,
Don't forget that one.
this myth out here, I guess Sonali put it out there, that somehow this is a racial issue, is bullshit. Because I've been before this board, I've talked to Margie, I've talked to Alan and Zuby in private meetings together with Charlie Mohammed, together with Assumpta, among others, about why was Black Strip programming wiped out.
Right.
The car show was put in our place. Ralph Nader was put in our place. 7 programs were relocated just to accomplish Zuby's love of hip hop, or KRS. KRS lasted about 2 months. He's on tour. He's not coming back to KPFK because he can't make no money. Yet 7 programs were destroyed. Were taken off the grid and put in new time slots.
Right.
We had to rebuild our audience, and especially black programs are very upset. So this notion that somehow that we, because we're all black, we're black and Zuby
Belong
black,
together.
and we support him. No, I support the process. If he was elected, I would support him. If he was chosen, I would support him. But I think the most important question is not Zuby or Leslie, is the plan. That's what's really, really important. What is their plan for KPFK? I know Zuby's plan because he's told it to me a number of times and I see what he's doing. I also know Leslie well enough and I talked to her, I know her plan. And Leslie's plan is basically volunteer driven. It's basically the focus of the staff should be supporting unpaid programmers and supporting the community. I support that point of view. We've always supported the point of view that's about the volunteers, it's about the community, and we look at the track record of community involvement. We look at Leslie's record in the black community, in the Chicano community, in the European community. We look at Zuby's record in those respective communities, and it's day and night difference. I think it's important for us to focus on the plan. And I agree with what Shona was recommending, the bullet points with an addendum with a more detailed analysis.
Fernando.
3 points. There is a bad habit that has been perpetuated at KPFK, asking for money and giving the impression that that money is going to come to us, KPFK, in our expenses. When in fact, it's the Pacifica Foundation, it has 5 licenses, KPFK does not have a license, none of the other 4, it's only one unit, one foundation with 5 licenses, and we ought to operate transparently, talking about we the family of nations, I mean of KPFK licenses, the Pacifica Foundation family, and we ought to operate nationally and operate with transparency. I think that could be corrected. Point number 2, imagine something that looks like a circus, like a fair, that has a stand-up comedy, has a political theater, has a concert, and it has maybe a speech, maybe a screening a political revolutionary movie, arts and crafts, and multi-ethnic cuisine, and that travels across all 5, 6 different countries, raising money, promoting, doing outreach, and bringing people in. But that's not going to happen if we continue to cater to the middle class. The only game in town is the middle class. And people 61 to 65 years of age. Somehow, programming needs to address all the different ethnic groups, all the different age groups, in really, with due respect, those who don't want to accommodate and be inclusive, well, they can be phased out.
Like yesterday.
All right.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando.
hard to follow.
Start with the.
Okay, fine, so I think Leslie's remarkable, and now that I've heard that she got in a legitimate fashion, you ain't gonna see me signing it. Everybody's pushing on me to sign these things on both sides. I'm not gonna do it. I think we really have to look at centralization. After the bylaws were signed off by the judge, we decided to hire a CFO. We've never had a CFO in Pacifica. Lonnie Hicks, he never said anything but lying to my face when I was in his presence. It was astounding. Years went by. He owned our GMs. How did he own our GMs? Because he paid them. He paid them Christmas bonuses. He gave them raises backdated for months so they could buy new cars. He owned all five GMs, period. When I looked into what a CFO is in corporate America, the way you keep a CFO from running your organization, which he was doing, basically turning us into a 5 studios, which he could use for whatever his designs were. Studios, not radio stations, studios. You hire a CFO on a temporary basis, and you move the power back to the stations. We've lost our local news. We can't seem to get rid of this huge plethora of employees that Lonnie Hicks gave Eva permission to keep hiring. It happened throughout the network, and we're drowning in payroll. And there isn't one person in that station that I would like to see leave, but they have to, and I've been preaching that for 10 years. We need to move the CFO out of the dominant position in this corporation. It hasn't been true for most of our history of Pacifica. We need the independence of our local business manager to be responsible to our GM and to our employees and to our board.
Our audience as well.
Of course. You can't talk to them.
There is a beautiful, history come from Africa. It says, until the lion have their own historian, the tales of hunting always glorify the hunters. We see Pacifica, suddenly Scientology are being involved at the Pacifica. Running the whole show for years and years.
Grace Harris. Yes.
They are not involved in any activity. Last night we came back from Corona, 2 o'clock. Who was there? Our comrade was the one, coming with some other people way back there, to be involved in that area. I see this comrade with his beautiful kids in every march, every corner. You have to see Rodrigo's kids. Zapata march. Where is the other people? I don't have to mention Michael and some other people. They are the one, being on the street, fighting against the police brutality, Black Lives Matters, stop police surveillance. Everything you see, they are involved. Where is the other people? Where is Sonali?
Yeah.
No. Sonali was supporting the Taliban.
Exactly.
The CIA created RAWA. She was against the general manager before.
Eva Georgia.
Eva Georgia. Look what she's doing. Look what she's doing.
Pushing the
Someone has to tell her, no, Sonali, we occupy KPFK, we don't allow you, to run the business.
She wants to
This is it. She was against the Soviet Union while they were there, supporting Taliban. All those criminals created, by CIA, Sonali was on their side. We are going to stand up with the side of our friend. I'm proud of Ron. His wife is sick, and he doesn't miss any board meeting or any other activity. We are proud of every individual that they are coming here to stand up and, save the Pacifica, not for Hillary that planning to go to war with China.
And Iran.
This is it. Let's stop, all these warmongers and save the Pacifica for the, our community.
So there are some other, there are no two lists. I think we have it so someone was signing those. Okay, if they wanna sign it.
We saw that afterwards.
Yeah, and then so yeah, yeah.
So we have a CAB report and a statement about.
Yeah, let me finish. I'm gonna. So, okay, I need to go, but I just wanna say that what say Reza is true. We got involved our families, our relatives, and this is struggle. For me, this is a class struggle. This is people who fight against capitalism, and fight imperialism, and that means having our own media to fighting back, and fighting till they are gone. There's no middle point. This is a class struggle, and that's how we see it. Therefore, we understand that we can have contradiction among the class, but we gotta be able to solve it. If there are people who don't want to solve it, it's because they are on the other side. Either they were willing doing it, or because they want to, or because they don't understand, or because they're so ignorant that they don't understand how the class struggle works. So I invite you to participate because yes, we are not going to be here. Some of us cannot be longer, but we cannot lose Pacifica. Right?
What we have done so far.
Yeah, and in terms of the new generations, I've been always submitted a requirement. My position is that we create one program at each radio station for children, by children. Of course, having the professional, help for people that knows, how to do it, but not in English, not in Spanish, but in all languages. In all languages, that all the kids, all the children can participate and do their own stories, Children from the black community, from the Jewish community, from the, people who speak, children that speak Farsi, who speak, different languages. Doing, one program, We are able to do it. We have the means to do it. We must do it. If we want to save, the bridge is so big, like we all are like kind of older now. So we gotta go to them, and not only that, to Spanish, of course, the Spanish language programming, we must expand it everywhere else. It's incredible that still there is some resistance, some places where you have, 30–40% of people who speak Spanish, and those radios don't want to open up. It's incredible because it's actually adverse, economically talking, it's adverse to the foundation. What we have to do, because these people that don't want Leslie Radford, don't want Spanish language programming either.
Right.
Those are the people that are asking us to go. I was signing things, okay, gotta remove the Spanish language programming. Instead of putting forward some initiatives on how we're gonna outreach that community. So that community, the Spanish language speaking community has, billions, I'm talking billions and billions because we are so many, we are millions over here. But we are the prey of the commercial radio stations, the prey of the commercial media. That's what we are.
That's right.
We are sending we are maintaining all these medias, while KPFK, so we are not doing much. This weekend, we have the book fest that is every year. They have, thousands of books from all the editorials, houses, of Mexico, some other places, here in the convention center. KPFK didn't have one book.
Right.
No. And the main event of Los Angeles, where you have, thousands of people that speak Spanish, but I'm saying thousands and thousands and thousands, where you have Gabriel Sicilia speaking, you have Sergio Arau, where you have, you name it, a lot of the reporters, international, right? So you have Lidia Cacho, you have all these, big names speaking, addressing, crowds, a lot of people. So you have, a big, space for children, right? Doing activities. You have the Universidad de Guadalajara doing, a lot of activities for the children. Where was KPFK? Where it be? Nowhere. None of us, did bring any, we had to, go and talk to people, what this is happening in KPFK. We had to make it official. And now that the new GM is going to take place, we have to have meetings with her.
Absolutely.
And we have to work and make sure that she does what we decide that it needs to be done.
Exactly.
This is not a thing of friends, We have no friends. We have a cause. Right? That's what we have. We have one cause that we fight for. So we have a new GM. We got to make sure that she will work with us, to develop a real good strategy for all of us. For all the different goals. So thank you very much. So I gotta go, but if Wednesday we make it, then we'll be here. We do have to practice.
Thank you, Rodrigo. We love you.
Yeah, I want to speak briefly about a couple of points. The other document I've distributed is the current financials through the 7th month of the current fiscal year. If you look at it briefly,
Take care, bro.
if you look at it briefly and then to summarize, the station is operating in the red.
In the red.
In the red. And the red part is primarily expenses. People need to understand that.
They were in brackets.
Although, please do not interrupt me. What I'm trying to say is this. Against budget, the station is actually, because of the emergency fund drive, excuse me, appreciate a little attention. If you ask about this, you want the answer. Against the budget, the station is doing better than projected on listener support through April. Because of the emergency fund drive, we are above budget on listener support. But on expenses, which is the primary responsibility of management to control, we are way over budget on our expenses to the extent that the station is almost $200,000 in the red through 7 months of the year. So those are the facts. More than 50% of the budget is spent on salary and related expenses. The Pacifica National Board, in approving the budget for the station well into the current fiscal year because of the problems we had in getting clear financial information, mandated the management of this station to cut $250,000 from the expense side of the budget to bring the budget into balance. That has still not happened. So the current fund drive is underperforming because we just had an emergency fund drive less than a month ago. And so we essentially borrowed the money from this current fund drive to overmeet the goal of that one. So those are just the financial facts. I appreciate what Doug had to say, but we have not had a business manager at this station since Summer Reese fired the previous business manager. We did not have a CFO for almost a year at the national office because her faction tried to get rid of the CFO. As a result, we had no financial information. I was given an offer from someone to bring somebody to the station who could help us with various kinds of fundraising. I was embarrassed to even call the man because I could not present a single factual piece of information about our actual financial status because we did not have audited books for 2013, 2 years ago, because of the failure of the interim business managers at this station to keep the books on any level. So we have to have a general manager who can keep on top of that. We have to have a local business manager. I tried more than 2 years ago when Bernard Duncan was the general manager to say, We have an interim business manager, you have to post a position. If he's good for the job, make him the permanent business manager, but you have to have a business manager. It can't be interim, it never happened. To talk, I'm sorry, Dutch left, to talk about the question of divisions. This board was completely united for 3 years and put it in the budget that resumed a local newscast, the KPFK newscast, which was taken away by a previous general manager imposed by, what's her face, Grace Aaron, who, as an economy measure, said, oh, well, we have to eliminate the local news and let Berkeley do it.
Right.
This entire board, without any disagreement, said we must restore local newscasts. We want to hire stringers. We want to pay for people who are basically volunteers to get a little bit of money to go out into the community and report on the news. And the management, Bernard Duncan did next to nothing. Richard Baratsky did absolutely nothing, and nothing has happened since Zuberry has come in, and it's 10 months. So the other thing this board is completely in agreement about across the board was we thought the idea of having a phone service to answer the calls during the fund drive was absolutely horrible. Completely moving the wrong direction. We all rejected it.
Yes.
The management went ahead and did it.
Yes.
Baratsky set it up, and Zuberry came in and said, well, I'm going to go and do it because we have to get the cash flow. That's been a huge expense item on the development side that cost us probably almost $100,000 for call service. And we're still paying it off because the company that did it is based in Oregon, and they were allowed to like put penalties and then put penalties on the penalties. It's still unresolved. So all I'm saying is that there's been plenty of unity on this board at different times about very, very critical issues, but we're forced to fight over crumbs because the management, honestly, has never been responsive to the idea of democratic governance and responsibility to the electorate, which is the listeners and the staff, paid and unpaid. So those are the things that have to take place. And the reason I support Leslie is I do think that she will be a manager who will respond to governance and who is interested in reaching out to the community, which is the base of the station. Historically, the reason it exists to this day is that the community continues to respond to the fund drives despite all the things. So I'll leave it at that.
If I sit down to,
Please have a seat.
and I'd like to make another special request. Can I have 60 seconds of my own personal comment time?
Who are you?
Yes, I'll announce. So my name is Dave Johnson. I'm a volunteer here. I'm the Community Advisory Board facilitator for the station. I have also served on the station's finance committee for, I think it's going on 3 years now.
Since I was removed.
Yeah, and I was on the finance committee for 3 years. And so I would like to mention something that, or add on to something that Michael said, and basically that the corporate call centers, which have gone over the period of 2 different general manager administrations and over 2 fiscal years, has been a $70,000 to $100,000 mistake. It was an off-budget expense, which means if you have $1,000 of income, you can't spend $1,500 a month.
Right.
The call centers were off budget, and it's cost us $70,000 to $100,000. We don't even know because we've never been totally presented all the figures. And we haven't been paying the call centers, and this one up in Northern California that's owned by this right-wing guy, you know, we're like 90 days past due on paying it, and he's getting very, very threatening, and it was due on Friday. So, I mean, it's been a huge, colossal mistake, and I personally, like Michael and some of the other members of the Finance Committee, practically begged the general managers to quit the call centers until we could at least computerize ourselves or do something else. But we could not afford them. We went ahead and did it anyway, and it's been a financial disaster.
That's right.
Okay. So that's just my perspective personally. Dave Johnson, not as a member of the CAB or anything like that. Okay. Anyway, so I'd like to talk to you about our CAB meeting. And we had a CAB meeting on Saturday, May 2nd from 11:30 to 1. We did start on time, we finished on time, and then Dan Nicewander, the acting chair, and myself stayed with a large number of the attendees to 4 o'clock before the last one left. We told them we would stay and answer any questions. Prior to the meeting, we had established the meeting date on a Saturday before with Zuberry, and Zuberry had promised that he would attend the meeting. And for several days, or a week or two, I had wondered why the meeting announcement had not appeared on the website And just when I was getting ready to contact the webmaster, I got an email from him saying, oh, sorry, Dave, none of your people can have any parking access on the day of your CAB meeting because we're having a car wash.
How exciting is that?
And I mean, we have people coming in from Riverside and stuff, and now you have to pay $1, an hour, and you have to keep feeding the meters out there. So what we did was we delayed the CAB meeting for 1 week, and we think it probably affected attendance, even though we still had about 20 people show up. And so anyway, we are hearing a lot of the same things from people over the last 3 years. And on my CAB report, which is just about finished, I've made a summary at the top of it of the 4 main things that we keep hearing over and over and over again. And one of the things is that there's a lack of communication between the membership department regarding shipping information for premiums. Not only there's a lack of communication, the largest complaint is how they never hear back from the membership department, even to confirm that the order has been received and not lost. And people are saying they just want the wait, but they want to know. And they don't get an email, they complain about making phone calls, and they don't hear. We have heard this over and over and over again for 3 years. The second thing is that the website continues to be an issue, even though members have generally stated that it is improving. However, several of the members, especially at the last CAB meeting, all mentioned about how difficult it is to find out any announcements or anything because they're kind of buried down at the bottom of the website. Now, people in this room might know where to look, but the general public doesn't. And so people said, why are you advertising Motown events and other things at the top big banner and you won't announce LSB meetings or CAB meetings?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so that's a big thing. They want to have better descriptions of the meetings. The other thing is basically the content and structure, and they would like to have links to articles written by our paid staff members at KPFK. They'd like to see those on our website if they've written them on our time with our staff, and not have to find them on Common Dreams or other places. Another one. Yeah, because that's what they have to do now. Another one is they'd like to have links to YouTube videos and things like that. And I noticed the website today, I think, had the very first YouTube link I've ever seen in 3 years. But they'd like to have more of that, especially considering Sonali is doing a TV show. Maybe we could see some of that and other things that people are doing out in the community. Well, the donate button as well. A lot of little tiny small internet and other public radio stations put a nice big fat red donate button on the top of the home page. Where one click and you go straight to the donate. One of the complaints we had, and I actually took some follow-up questions from gentlemen that were at a meeting we went to in Riverside, saying, Dave, could you please send me the actual page to donate at? I can't figure out what to do. It takes 4 or 5 clicks. I don't know what to do. I get PayPal. I don't have PayPal. What do I do? So one of the requests is that a nice big fat red donate button would be put on the top of the home page 365 days out of the year.
Yes.
Let's see, next section. We get a lot of comments about the music programs, and we actually had several members of the black community, African American community, that came by and said how that they were concerned about what was happening with hip-hop programming. And they're concerned because they know what happens with some of the language. But one of the gentlemen that attended our meeting said that he heard one of the guests kind of like throw an F-bomb or something the other day. Right. And then he's just said that in his opinion, and I'm stating what he said that hip-hop, in terms of the violence of some of the hip-hop music, obviously not all of it, but he says he was concerned about that and the language that might be thrown out there, and he just wanted to say, please station, be careful about that, and he actually was against the hip-hop programming, and that was just his opinion. But that's a fairly new claim, but for the last 3 years we keep getting a request to have at least 1 hour of classic rock, maybe during the daytime programming. We have that come up continually, that the 5 Global Village programs are nice, but we keep getting several members ask for some of the programming to be mainstream, and we keep getting requests for a classic rock type program where we could maybe invite some of these classic rock musicians into the station to do interviews and stuff, and then maybe they would get happy with KPFK and might become regular contributors and donors. And then the last thing that keeps coming up is the film club. We had it raised again, and we do attract listeners that come in from Riverside and other counties, and they say, please expand the film club to have at least one theater that's not either in downtown LA or Hollywood. Right. He said, how about having at least one theater, a participating film club theater in, and I'll read the list, let's see, Santa Barbara, Ventura, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino counties, as well as somewhere in the South Bay, including Long Beach, San Pedro, Torrance, or another South Bay city. And as an additional note, because we talked about this when we got into our discussion of fundraising at the station, is that the film club is an off-air fundraising, 365 days a year fundraising vehicle. People donate to the film club, and it's an off-air fundraising tool, and they said, please expand that as well. And so anyway, it's a 4-page report, but that was just sort of like a little highlight. And the only other thing I will say is that the CAB was invited to attend, we were called up and invited to attend a PDA Riverside meeting on May 9th. They were having a Bernie Sanders kickoff thing, and they allowed 10 minutes of cab time before their meeting started. So Dan Neiswander, our acting chair, and myself drove out to Riverside last Saturday, and we attended that meeting. And I will happily say that I got a couple phone calls back after the meeting, include one of the gentlemen who couldn't figure out how to donate to KPFK. Okay, and so anyway, that kind of wraps it up. And you know, the
questions?
more
I think
detailed
you
report.
should answer questions that come.
I just want to thank David Johnson for his report, and also the fact that you gave me the figures about the cost center, and I was able to take it to the national board when I was a director, and we got rid of the cost center. And it's basically because of the figures that you gave. I was able to question the CFO and ask them how much each station is losing. And on the average, on half a day, they were losing about $38,000, right? And it was, I think, 99 cents per call.
Yes.
Per minute.
Yes.
Per call.
Minute. Over 90.
Yeah, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And that is still there.
I have a question, please.
Margie.
I've been a long time participant in KPFK. And for a long while, I in fact, despite my terrible old age, came in and did fundraising with the Royal Hollywood program, and I was always there at least 4 times during, and I've been told I'm not allowed there anymore. But I still listen to KPFK, but I have some real problems. I went to membership, and I tried to tell them I'm living on the poverty level these days. I'm a retired attorney, for those of you who don't know, activist attorney, first bank lawyer, woman bank lawyer, and area director for neighborhood legal services until Nixon ordered me fired. So I have a little bit of history. I've been forbidden to come and do fundraising at night. And then the other thing is I listen. And there are some programs, if I hear certain giggles and certain programs on the fundraising, I want to know who decides what's going to be repeated and repeated and repeated.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to know is when Sonali Kahatkar announced that she was now charging $4.50 for to be plugged in on her show. I want to know, where does that $4.50 go? Does it go to her, or does it go to KPFK and Pacifica?
We don't know.
And
we don't know.
And by the way, I went to membership. I made a number of calls, and then I went right down and talked to Terry, and I said, Terry, this is what I want to do. I will give you this money for these programs. I had lost my card and I had a new number. I have never been charged for it. I have never received any of the gifts. That's okay. But I have never been charged for it. And I want to know, how come when I go down to the station and they know who I am, and now I'm not allowed to do fundraising, but I still offered to give some money, and that was 3 months ago. And now I've got a new account number, and I don't know what the hell to do with you guys. Because you never charged my account. Other people did, but somehow I didn't get charged by KPFK. And I wonder, what that's about. And I really am sorry to have to get up and say this. I used to be very active with, like I said, I even enjoyed, because I come from Torrance, I had to do the midnight shift. And because midnight buses don't, there are no midnight buses to Torrance. And so I've been kicked off doing fundraising, because I think it's because early in the morning when nothing's going on, I would talk politics with the people who are doing fundraising.
They don't want you doing that.
Good for you.
That's dangerous.
And that's the other question I want to know. Who makes that decision, and how come we have somebody who has been running the program director, for how many years
Over
now?
6 years.
And he's never been made permanent,
Alan Minsky.
I like Alan, but the question is, who's running the station?
Who told you that you couldn't come in and fundraise?
Mansour.
He has no
Mansour intimidates many people.
And what he's done,
But you're political? He's an instigator and an intimidator.
You don't have his hand.
Yeah, first of all, Mansour got the power to say shit.
Yeah.
I'd ignore him. But back to the CAB presentation, I thought it was very, very good. But my concern is that, as I stated to you before, and other delis and others, that the CAB's responsibility is to do a community survey. So that Alan Minsky just doesn't, based upon his own ideological tendencies or Euro male-centric tendencies, make serious program decisions by bringing programs on or taking programs off. It should be rooted in a statistical survey done of the different ethnic communities that make up our listening audience. The job of the CAB is to provide that survey. I know for a fact that it has been rubber stamped under Deli's leadership. He would just ask the management, particularly Jennifer Kaiser, write something up, and he would just sign off on it.
Exactly.
There has never been no empirical survey of the listening audience, so their program director would be guided by statistical and social reality rather than their own Eurocentric male ideology. So my question is, how is that coming along? Because in the last 10 years, I think since Eva George, there's been no community survey, and that's a statistical, social basis for program decisions.
Well, wait. When has Alan ever been guided by any other people's advice? Never. Never. Maybe things will change now with the new leadership. Let's hope so. You're perfectly right. You know, he's been interim, and he's been acting as if he's the program director and not the interim, because interims don't make major changes.
Exactly. Yes, they do. He's made a million changes. Don't buy that.
Well, I mean, they're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to.
There's a question also for the cabinet.
And I have my hand up.
Anyway, Mansour, let me talk about Mansour.
But Bernie, you jump into that, they're doing questions to the cabinet. Support. You jump into that.
Should I answer or at the end?
No, now, can you please?
About the community needs assessment or something.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad that came up because it's not part of my highlights there. But the last part of the report says, quote, the CAB is planning on concluding its next KPFK listener survey report sometime this summer. And I'd like to add that when I started over 3 years ago, I was asked by Mr. Duncan and Jennifer Kaiser to take on the CAB. And they basically just threw me into a meeting and gave me no instruction as to what to do. And actually Tej was there at that meeting, and Jennifer was there just kind of ushering me along. But one of the things that was never described to me was anything about a listener survey.
Right.
I mean, I have to tell you that I was operating without really realizing that for probably a year. Even though we did hand out survey forms to everyone, and we have recorded what they said. So that was just part of the literature we handed out. We continued to hand that out, and we now have what I think is an appropriate number of surveys for us to properly attempt to make a CAB survey report. It probably won't be as perfect as I'd like it to be, but we really were handicapped by not really knowing what we were supposed to do in that regard. And we're trying to make strides to fulfill this obligation. And we hand out these survey forms at other events we go to that aren't formal CAB meetings. And one of the things that Dan's from Pasadena, and he's been involved with the Martin Luther King group up in Pasadena. We've attended their meetings, and we've talked to people there and handed out survey forms. So we're working on the survey, and we haven't produced one in 3 years, and it's a problem, and we're trying to do one as soon as we can.
Just a point of clarity, please. To ask listeners to fill out a survey is recycling the demographics of KPFK as it exists today. Yes. The question is, how do we get survey research on those who don't listen to KPFK, so they then can start listening to KPFK, right, because their needs, their ethnic, their gender, other needs are being realized by KPFK, because if you pass out a survey at KPFK meetings, You're going to be passing it to people like us
The
here.
same people.
And we're trying to open up new listenership.
And that is why we've been attending meetings and talking to people and asking them to fill out forms that are not Pacifica KPFK CAB meetings, including the MLK, PDA, and others around town. And our next one's going to be at the Eco Village in I don't know, Midtown over there. And it's not going to be like a group of all of us KPFKers. We're attracting people from their neighborhoods to attend that meeting. So that's been our attempt so far to do that.
Yeah, we're just gonna go around.
No,
Well, I want to respond briefly to Margaret's thing.
Margie.
Yeah. The decision about the fund drives has always been made primarily by Alan, over the objections of even some of the people whose things are being repeated, and definitely over the objections of programmers who would prefer not to be preempted by those things. So there was a slight attempt made in the last emergency drive to stick with more of their regular programming and less of their pitching, but they reverted to form again on this one.
Yeah.
Around the question of the cab, I've said this to you earlier, Dave, and I said it to, and it's not to you personally, but I said it with Quasi, I said it with Dele, I said it with Bella. The job of the cab is to conduct a community needs assessment, and that's not a survey. That means you have to do some social investigation of who the communities are in Southern California and what their needs are. Well, it's not only what kind of program you want.
Right.
It's how can the station meet those needs, and that is the basis of this station, has to be meeting community needs. So it's identifying what are the pressing social issues. What is the community concerned about in terms of police brutality, gentrification, housing, employment, environment? What are the concerns and needs of the community, and how can the station address them? And that is the job. It's not agitating for or against a particular programmer or how to improve a particular show. There are other mechanisms for that, and that's never been done. And the current management is doing another survey online with listeners, and that's still not going to do it. So that still has to be undertaken, and that is the job of the community advisory board.
You have your hand up.
We're gonna go right.
So where does your report go from here?
Well, after it's finalized, it gets sent to the webmaster at the station, it's published online.
Yeah,
Hard to
so,
find, but-
so when I was chair of the CAB, what we did, we began going to different communities. We were discontinued March 2010, 11, 10. And at that time, we had an event in Maywood, and we began to doing needs assessment. We had another one scheduled for another area, and at that time, we were discontinued by Jennifer Kaiser and Bernard Duncan. And by the way, we were doing the CAB, and Dele was one of them, but Dele was going to Jennifer and doing dealings with Jennifer without the rest of us knowing. And Jennifer did not give us the survey very late in the game. So when I got the survey from her, what I did, I put it into Word document to be more accessible. I believe I sent it to you because you asked me to send it to you.
I don't recall either of those two things.
You're kidding.
No.
And I sent it to a lot of people because now it was in Word document, whereas before
I've never
it was...
seen a Word document, and I don't
Oh,
recall ever
wow.
asking for one.
Well, then I would like to send it to you. But anyway, what I wanted to say is that Jennifer Kaiser kept a drawer, which became the black box, where a lot of the surveys apparently were dumped into, never reported, never saw the light of day, and therefore the CPB never got those reports, never got that information. And look where we are today. So, and I'm horrified that Margie has been treated that way. Margie has been a dedicated supporter of KPFK for so many years. Such a darling and such a wonderful human being.
See,
I'm gonna have a word with my sword.
Marla and I tried to get on the CAB, Community Assessment Board, and the ED sent a letter to the station that specifically said, because Marla and I had been on the Finance Committee for a number of years and we're still on the Finance Committee, we would not be allowed to be part of the Community Assessment Board.
I remember that.
Right.
I remember that.
The ED wrote that letter. The basis of the 1998 suit is that differentiation that the members of the Community Assessment Board could not be part of governance nor part of the station. So that's just your background. You've never had a cab since probably 1998 in the station. They've always been resisted. They've always been put in the black box of the Circular 5.
That's right.
And you just need to read the contract with the community of the CPB. And it's that simple.
Right.
On the idea of volunteers, I heard today, it was sweet. I'll have to go wash my ears out. I have too much honey in them. That they're going, that somehow in this mess, either governance or somebody is going to support volunteers within the station. That hasn't been true in years.
Right.
Margaret has mentioned over today that she's been ejected from the fundraise, from the phone room. This has gone on for years, that she's not allowed. They don't have the horsepower to kick Marla and I out, but there's no food, there's no support, and no one cares, and the food all goes into a pantry that's about half as big as this room. And I don't know what's in there anymore because only one person has the key. So supporting volunteers is the best thing I have heard, and it will change the whole complexion of what we broadcast.
His mission is all about.
Yeah, this coming Thursday, we have outreach committee. I'm inviting you to come part of the outreach with some other member and to see how Mansour is going to react. No, this is it. We should stand up and say, no, you are not part of this.
He has no authority whatsoever. He has no right.
He's an employee.
He
does get paid. That's all. Yeah, but he likes to intimidate people that just don't know, that are weak, maybe weak, especially Spanish-speaking programmers and other volunteers. I see it, I'm there.
But he's the face of a dynamic that's been in the station for 5 years.
Yes, and when I'm there, he doesn't dare. He doesn't dare.
Are you able to clarify why he asked you not, why he told you not to come through? Was it
Because she
the hours
talks
weren't
politics
open?
with people on the phone.
That's what we were about.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they want to talk. They want to talk at 2 o'clock in the morning.
They go all night in the morning.
If people want to talk
That's what she
politics,
thought.
it's
That's
not
what
what
they're
we're
calling
about.
KPFK. They want to
Maybe
talk.
he thought I drank too much coffee while I was there from 12 at night and 6 in the morning.
Yeah, I think everyone at the station.
So we're on for Wednesday. Can you make that announcement again?
Wednesday, 7 p.m. we'll be here, and Thursday.
A follow-up.
At the station, 7 p.m.
Oh, and the finance committee, it's not in the agenda. The
Yeah, when
finance
is it?
committee is meeting the third Tuesday in June at 7:30 at the station.
At the same. I couldn't make the 8 o'clock. The second Thursday?
Third Thursday, I believe it's the 16th.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Day before the LSB meeting.
Sunday afternoon.
The 18th, Michael?
Whatever the third Tuesday is, I think it's
Oh, Tuesday. 16th, yeah.
June 16th.
Now, this one hasn't been sent yet. Oh, yeah. It's really hard to find.
Hey,
I have a hard time finding it. Yeah.
You gonna have a cigarette? Go to the bathroom?
I get it.
And come
I get it.
back.
I get it. Where do you live?
Usually what I do is click this one here.
I just have a place here. Okay, I get it.
Report number 339.
Yeah, read all over
Okay, well, I'm going to take this.